Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be how to make her want you more. Now, this refers to women that you're dating, refers to your girlfriend, and also refers to your wife. One of the things I teach about in my book, I've got an interest level table that's, 4 or 5 pages long, and it starts on page 120 in my book. And what I detail is the different percentages of a woman's romantic interest in you. So you can tell, if her from 51% to say 60%, there's a certain number of things a woman is willing to do and that she won't do when her interest level is in that percentage range. When her interest level is in the 60 to 70% range, there's another set of actions that she'll do in addition to what she does when her interest is in the 50 to 60% range. And the same thing from 70 to 80, and from 80 to 90, and obviously 90 to 100. And if you want to get really good at sensing how a woman feels about you emotionally in every moment, because it fluctuates based upon her emotions, the mood she's in, it obviously is based upon her hormones, and how you're showing up in the relationship. When you're demonstrating dominant male behavior and you're being strong and you're being centered, usually she's going to pursue you and want to be with you more because she's going to be unsure of where she stands with you. Because I've got an article here on this particular page, this link, I'll link to an article that was written, a year or two ago. It was a scientific study where scientists actually sat and concluded, by looking at the data and talking, it's like 1,000 different women they interacted with in this survey. And what they concluded was that women were more attracted to men whose feelings were unclear or when they were unsure of where they stood. Now, as I've talked about before, you want to be a challenge to women. You want to be your own man. You want a woman to wonder about you. If you're constantly texting a woman, calling a woman, in between your dates and professing your love and how much you appreciate her and blah, 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 when you've only been out on one date, more than likely she'll end up canceling your second date if you do that. And one of the things I talk about is especially in the beginning, you only use the phone, text, email, instant messaging, whatever form of contact that you're using. You only use these forms of contact to simply set a definite date. And what a lot of guys make the mistake of doing, especially when they're first finding out about my work, is they're under this illusion of action that I have to do something to make her like me more. And because that's running around in their head and they've been watching TV and movie programs since they were little children that show that the men have to constantly chase the women and do something to cause her to fall for them. Because if you're not doing something, you're not totally in her face, she's going to forget about you and choose some other guy who is in her face. And that's total fucking bullshit. It's some dude, probably some guy that sat in the back of class in high school who's a screenwriter that never was very successful about women. He's got fantasies of the way he thinks that they should be because he's been watching movies his whole life and TV programs. And so he just goes and starts writing stories and stuff that are based upon the same bullshit and inaccurate stuff that's just simply not the way women respond in life. And so as you're dating a woman, you're interacting with her. And like I talk about, page 120, there's about 4 or 5 pages after that where I explain in detail. And you have to know that stuff like the back of your hand because, like I said, a woman's emotional, romantic interest in you is going to fluctuate based upon how she's feeling. Just maybe it's that time of the month or whatever her hormones are doing, or maybe something's going on in her life or that's causing some kind of a stress or whatever. Or, obviously, most importantly, what you're doing or not doing when you're dating her. That's all going to affect how she shows up. And so when a woman becomes lukewarm and cold to you and she's not really that enthusiastic to see you, you should do things like setting your dates up further into the future. You need to spread that time out because, like I've talked about before, a woman's romantic interest in you rises slowly over time. You got to think of it like a cake that's baking in the oven. And the mistake that most guys do is they keep opening the oven. Is it done? Is it done? Is it done yet? And then the cake just goes, and they totally deflate all the sexual tension, and they get rejected. The right way to handle it is to understand that it's okay to communicate what you think about her, that you like her, that she thinks she's beautiful. But, like I talk about in my book, it's better for guys that are starting out to not do those things. And the reason being, I've talked about it in other articles, is that until you get to the place where you can speak from your heart and give a compliment without any kind of attachment or anything attached to it that says she's got to show up a certain way or she's got to act a certain way, you're going to have problems. And so you don't want to get attached to her being a certain way or doing things a certain way. You just have to kind of let women come and go as they please. And so if a woman's she's lukewarm, then like I said, you set your date up in the future. Or if she's not real enthusiastic to call you back when you text her, you text her at 12 and she doesn't text you till like 6 or 7 o'clock that night, or maybe the next morning. Well, that should be an indication that you need to take your time getting back to her. It's not about being manipulative. It's about looking at how she's showing up in relation to you. Because most guys just completely ignore all that crap altogether and only pay attention to their own level of interest. They don't pay attention to how he's doing and what he's doing and saying in the relationship is affecting her actions. If a woman's blowing up your phone and going, "I miss you. I can't wait to see you." Of course, you're like, "Hey, come on over tonight." That's how you handle those interactions. But like I said, when a woman, you feel her backing away and she's not as excited to see you, then you have to spread out the time in between you contacting her next, asking her out for a date. The next time, if she, normally she thanks you and she fucks your brains out at the end of every one of her dates, and tonight you take her home and, she's not really in the mood to kiss and she's kind of like, "I'm not really feeling well." That's great, Wait a few days to call her. Don't call her the next day. "Oh, I had such a great time. Wasn't it so awesome?" Because a lot of guys do that and they think, "Oh, she was lukewarm and cold, so I got to try and cajole her or manipulate her into thinking she had a better time last night than she actually did." It's just you simply have to back off, because what happens is the woman becomes sure of herself and she needs time. Just like us guys, we need to go and be in our man cave when we need to solve our problems. When it comes to dealing with her emotions and how she feels about you, she needs to talk about it with her girlfriends. She needs to sit and think about it, have a glass of wine at night, or watch her favorite TV program, or read a romance novel, or whatever it happens to be. You got to give her some space so the dough can rise, so to speak. Rise, just like a cake, I should say. So I got this short email from a guy, and he says, "I read your article, 'Don't Act Dopey Around Women.' This article pretty much is on key with what's happening with the girl I'm currently dating. My question is, how do I get out of this bind? I guess you could say I screwed up by letting her know how I liked her too soon, and so she already knows how I feel and what my intentions are." And like I said before, there's nothing wrong with expressing that. The problem runs into when you have an attachment to it. When you give her a compliment, not because it's a gift to your heart, but because, "Oh, I'm saying you're really beautiful because I hope you'll have sex with me, or I hope you'll go to dinner with me, or I hope that you'll give me your phone number, or I hold the door open for you because I'm expecting some kind of reaction, not that I'm doing it just because I'm a gentleman and I open the door for everybody." It's a huge difference. It's a subtle difference, but it's a massive difference between giving something or a compliment because it's a gift to your heart, or giving it because you're expecting something in return. And when you expect something in return, women can sense it, and it lowers her interest level. So he says, "Lately she seems a bit more standoffish and seems to be less interested than she was in the beginning. And I would say it's because you've communicated low value and you've been overeager. Obviously, you admit it. You've acted dopey. And when you act dopey, you act weak. You're basically communicating that you don't have any emotional self-control. And when a woman sees that and senses that, you basically are starting to act like a stalker would act, or a needy guy would act, or a guy that becomes an abusive boyfriend would act. And so when a woman senses that and feels it, she's going to back away from you. And when she backs away, you just have to let her go. And the fact that she's lukewarm here, what I would do is I would start spacing out your time in between your dates. And the thing you got to pay really close attention to is at this point, if you've been out on several dates with her, is that she should be doing 70 to 80% of the contacting or initiating contact. And so what you need to do is absolutely nothing at all. And if you don't hear from her for several days, or maybe a week goes by and you haven't heard from her, this is what you always fall back on when a woman goes cold, like I talk about in the book, is that if she goes cold, you just stick to once a week. You call her once a week and ask her out. And if she's busy or she says, I can't make it this week, we'll do it some other time, and doesn't offer you a counter, then you got to wait until the following week and do the same thing. And then after 2 times trying to set up dates, she says no, she can't do it without offering a counter, then you don't call her anymore at all. But in this particular case, more than likely, you're probably calling her and blowing up her phone all the time, telling her you had a nice time and all this other BS. The best thing to do is back off and do nothing and wait to see if she calls you or contacts you. And when she does text you, just say, hey, I'd really love to see you. When are you free next week? What nights are you open for dinner? ? Let her respond, and she says, I'm open Tuesday and Thursday. Say, great. How about I pick you up Thursday at 8 o'clock? Boom. Definite date. Get off the phone, and think of it this way. It's like once you've set a date and you have definite plans, you know where you're going to pick her up or you know where you're going to meet, it's just like putting the cake in the oven, and then you do nothing until it's time to open the oven up. That's the best way to look at it. And so you don't open the oven up until it's time for your date. It's like you don't need to call her or do anything. You just need to show up and keep your word and keep the plans that you made. It makes it very simple and very easy. And it gives her the space in between the time that you've set the date and she's waiting for you to show up to where she can think about you, she can talk to you, or talk to her girlfriends about you, which all these things are what raise her level of interest. You're being mysterious. Instead of volunteering everything that you've been up to, let her ask you what you've been up to. And don't tell her everything. Let her work to find these things out about you, because you want to know. If she's interested in you, she's going to want to know these things. She's going to ask these things. So if you find this message of value, you can show your appreciation by going down to the Wibbia toolbar, which is at the bottom of your screen if you're watching this video on my website, and click the PayPal donate button and donate any amount that you feel is equal to the value of the information in this video. At the very least, please share this page with all of your friends and family by clicking any one of the social network sharing buttons, which are also located on the Wibbia toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And if you've got a question that you want to ask me, or there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future video newsletter, click the Contact Me tab on the left-hand side of your screen and send me 3 or 4 paragraphs maximum detailing your situation. You got to be brief. I can't read 3-page letters. It's just way too much information. But be patient. I will get back to you. You just got to give me several days, because I get a lot of email from the internet, and I also get a lot of email from my paying phone coaching customers. And obviously I got to focus on the paying customers first, but be patient and I will get back to you. And if you'd like to talk to me right away, you can book a paid phone coaching session with me personally by clicking the Products tab at the top of your screen and just follow the instructions. And I'll talk to you soon.